In the UK in 1946, the de Havilland Aircraft Company introduced the DH-104 Dove. This twin-engine, short-haul and charter aircraft for 8 to 11 passengers proved very successful, and over the following 21 years, 546 saw service around the world. Based on this success and sharing much of the Dove's componentry, a prototype of the larger DH-114 Heron was designed and constructed. She took to the air in 1950, with the first production model being delivered in 1952. The Heron was powered by 4 250 horsepower Gypsy Queen engines and could carry 12 to 17 passengers. A total of 149 Herons were produced up until 1963. Progressive improvements included a retractable undercarriage, enhanced aerodynamics, and increased engine power and payload. After production ceased, companies such as the Riley Aircraft Corporation in the US began updating and converting existing aircraft, including replacing the Gypsy Queen engines with Lycoming motors. In the 1970s, the Saunders Aircraft Company in Canada converted a number of Herons, extending the fuselage and replacing the 4 Gypsy Queen engines with 2 Pratt & Whitney turboprops. The original Heron prototype, now on display at the Moorabbin Air Museum, was first registered in the UK as GALZL and was used by de Havilland for tests and trials before becoming a company demonstrator. In 1954, she was briefly registered in Norway as LNBDH when she was leased for 1 month to Braathens Safe Air Transport. After her return, she was upgraded to production standard and made ready for sale. In 1955, the aircraft was purchased by Jersey Airlines and named the Duchess of Paris. Jersey Airlines was the first British airline to introduce Herons, flying them on its services between the Channel Islands, France and England. In 1962, she joined other Herons in the fleet of aircraft leasing company Executive Air Transport Limited. From there, she was leased, firstly to the English Electric Company for executive transport between factories, and then to Emerald Airways of Northern Ireland for passenger services within Ireland and to Scotland. She was sold in 1966 to a Dutch company and was registered as OYDGS. In 1973, after 2 further Danish owners, she was sold to Altair Proprietary Limited of Perth, Western Australia, and following an overhaul, she was registered as VHCJS. Between 1973 and 1976, the aircraft had a number of owners and flew in support of oil, gas and mining operations in Western Australia and on short-haul charters in South Australia, before returning to Western Australia, where she was retired and deregistered. The aircraft was then parked in the open at Jandakot Airport. In 1986, after 10 years of deterioration, she was acquired by the formative West Australian Museum of Aviation. She was then dismantled and stored in a vehicle compound at Jandakot. 2 years later, the West Australian Museum of Aviation project was abandoned and its aircraft collection was dispersed. In 1997, the Heron was moved to the Aviation Heritage Museum at Bull Creek, near Perth. Here, some restoration work was carried out on the fuselage and on the Gypsy Queen engines. In 2011, she was sold to a private collector in Victoria, still dismantled and in an incomplete state. In 2013, a member of the Moorabbin Air Museum purchased and donated the aircraft, which was placed in storage awaiting restoration. In late 2023, in order to preserve her exterior for attention by a later generation of aircraft restorers, work began on cleaning and painting the Heron's wings. However, after recognising the importance and the potential of the aircraft, it was decided to fully restore her to display condition. The fuselage was moved to outside the restoration workshop for cleaning, repair and painting. The wing fairings, tailplane, tail cone, and all the engine cowlings were also painted. And the distinctive and striking fiberglass cockpit roof was expertly repaired and painted. Work was also undertaken to refurbish the main undercarriage. This required the fabrication of a number of undercarriage locking nuts. A replacement for the missing nose wheel had to be found, and a new axle and associated fittings also had to be fabricated. A great deal of work was put into the repair of the cabin door, which had been torn off and badly damaged in a strong windstorm prior to its acquisition by the museum. This involved repairs to the door skins, the fabrication of a new door handle, and the fabrication of a new door hinge. All the cabin windows had become obscured with age and deterioration, requiring the fabrication and fitting of acrylic replacements. Similarly, new cockpit bubble windows were fabricated and fitted. In the interior, the passenger cabin linings, ventilation ducting, and floor were refurbished. Only 2 passenger seat frames remained. These were refurbished and installed. Attention to historic detail was exemplified by the 3D printing and chroming of replacement for missing ashtray covers. Refurbishment was also undertaken of the cockpit, with particular attention being given to the instrument panel and the refurbishing and upholstering of the pilot's seats. Meanwhile, the Heron's 4 engines were removed from storage and thoroughly cleaned. In April 2025, the fuselage was moved to the aircraft's display position. The starboard wing was fitted, followed shortly after by the port wing. The next stage was the fitting of the main and nose undercarriages. A milestone was reached when her 4 engines were reinstalled. Then came the tailplane, fin, and tail cone. For this, new tailplane installation fittings had to be fabricated. The wing fairings were also reinstalled. The rudder, being fabric covered and unsuitable for long-term outdoor display, was omitted for the present and placed in undercover storage. The original fabric-covered flaps were also destined for undercover storage. In their place, metal 3-piece flaps from another aircraft were refurbished and fitted. Next, a livery was added, reflecting the first commercial operator, Jersey Airlines, with her UK registration on one side, and her first Australian owners, Altair, and her Australian registration on the other. In the meantime, the propellers were refurbished and fitted. Finally, to refurbish her external restoration, a refurbished nose wheel cowl and light were installed. While further work will be required on her interior, she now stands as a beautiful reminder of her former glory. It was through the skills and commitment of the volunteer members of the restoration team at Moorabbin Air Museum that such an outstanding result has been achieved.